Welcome to our continuation of Section 3, which is solving equations. So this time around, we're going to solve literal equations or formulas for a specified variable. So in the first video for Section 3, I gave you an equation and you solve for x, y, or z, whatever the variable was, and you got a number. This time around, we're going to be solving an equation for a variable, but you're not going to get a number. You're just going to get an expression. So this is no calculator. So looking at example 1, it says solve the following equation for y. It says 3x minus 5y equals 22. Now in this case, you have an x and a y. You have two variables, but only one equation. So you know that you can't get a number for y. So instead of getting a number, you're going to get another expression or another equation. So I'm just going to rewrite our equation. We have 3x minus 5y equals 22. Okay, so I need to solve for y. Looking at the left side, the two issues are the 3x and the negative 5. So I'm going to need to get rid of both of those. Now, in order to determine which one to get rid of first, I'm going to look at the order of operations. So order of operations, the PEMDAS, the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, when you're solving an equation, you go backwards. So your teacher might have shown you that yesterday. But I'm going to always start with what's being added or subtracted. Now I notice that that 3x is being subtracted from the 5y, or I'm subtracting the 5y from the 3x. So that's what I want to get rid of first. Looking at the leading sign, it's a positive 3x, so to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract 3x. So I have negative 5y equals 22 minus 3x. Okay, then I'm going to look at anything that's being multiplied or divided. I'm multiplying by negative 5, so that's what I need to get rid of. Now to get rid of that negative 5, since it's being multiplied, I'm going to do the inverse. So I'm going to divide. So I get y equals 22 minus 3x all over negative 5. So if I were doing the problem, I would leave it like that. Now, you could simplify, and what you could do is you could divide both numbers by negative 5. So another way that you might see this written is 22 divided by negative 5. And then I have 3 divided by negative 5. If I were you, or if I am your teacher, I prefer the top way. The bottom way, though, may be a way that you might see your answer as well. So that's all you're doing in today's video. You're just rearranging the equation to get a new equation. So looking at example 2, solve the following equation for a. Okay, so I have y plus a over x minus x equals z. So in the previous problem, you probably didn't need the order of operations. This one, you're definitely going to need the order of operations. On the left side, I have this y that's a problem, I have the x that's a problem, I have the other x that's a problem, and I need to solve for a. Looking at the order of operations, start with anything being added or subtracted. In the back of your mind, remember that there are parentheses here. Okay, so the only thing that's being added or subtracted is this x right here. So I'm going to get rid of that first. Because it's being subtracted, I'm going to add x to both sides. So I'm left with y plus a over x equals z plus x. Okay, now remember that y plus a is in parentheses, so I'm not going to do anything with that just yet. Now, is there anything being multiplied or divided? Well, on the left side, I'm dividing by x. So right here, I'm dividing by x. So to get rid of it, I'm going to multiply by x. So on the left side, when I multiply and divide by x, the x's are gone, and I'm left with y plus a equals. The right side, I multiply by x. I have to remember to distribute it. So I get zx add x squared, because x times x is x squared. Okay, now, in the back of our mind, we remembered that this y plus a was in parentheses. I don't have any exponents, so I'm going to get rid of those parentheses now. If I'm adding a, the way to get rid of it is to subtract a. So I get y equals zx add x squared, subtract a. So that one was tricky. It's really tricky to remember to do that y last. You have to remember that in a fraction, the numerator and denominator are in implied parentheses. So you don't want to do them until the very end. It may be helpful when you are doing these problems to write out the order of operations. And remember to go backwards. Okay, example 3 is one for you to do. Pause the video and try this one on your own, please. Good luck. Okay, so the first thing that I'm betting you did is you distributed that 13k on the right side, which is fine. If you did that, that's good. So you get 13k minus 13kz. Okay, now order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. If I'm solving for z, I'm adding or subtracting that 13k, so it's positive 13k right now, so I need to subtract it. I get n minus 13k equals negative 13kz. Okay, now multiplying and dividing. I'm multiplying by negative 13k, so to get rid of them, I have to divide by negative 13k. So I get n subtract 13k all over negative 13k equals z. Now, that's only one way to do the problem. If you did it that way, that's good. If I recopy the problem, okay, there's really no reason to distribute the 13k. I'm not interested in the 13 and I'm not interested in the k. So right away, I can divide by them. 13k is next to parentheses, which implies multiplication. So to move it over, just divide by it. So I get n over 13k equals 1 minus z. Okay, so now I'm in the parentheses. So to get rid of that 1, I'm going to subtract 1. So I have n over 13k minus 1 equals negative z. Last thing to do is divide by negative 1 that's in front of the z. All that does is flip all the signs. So I have negative n over 13k plus 1 equals z. Okay, so that was a little trickier, but all I did was I divided by the 13k instead of distributing it. Our answers look different, but they're actually the same. These are actually the same. If I simplify this first one I get n over negative 13k. Negative 13k divided by negative 13 is just 1. So plus 1 equals z. So it's the same answer either way. It's just whatever you're more comfortable with. So hopefully you got that one right. Okay, and then moving on to example 4. It says solve the following equation for B2. This one, again, is one that you're going to do on your own. So take a minute, pause the video, and complete this problem on your own, please. Good luck. Okay, so the answer that you should have gotten is B2 equals 2a over h minus b1. That's what you should have gotten. Here's what I did. First thing that I did was divide by that 1/2 h. So you get a over 1/2 h equals b1 plus b2. Now, remember that dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by their reciprocal. So a divided by 1/2 doesn't really look very nice. So instead, I'm going to do the reciprocal, so 2 over 1 multiplied by a over h equals b1 plus b2. Now 2 over 1 times a, that's just 2a. So you get 2a over h equals b1 plus b2. And then subtract b1 and you get back to this answer that I gave you at the beginning. So that's a little trick if you didn't know to change that 1/2 to a 2. But dividing by a fraction, remember, is the same thing as multiplying by a reciprocal. We never want to divide by a fraction. It's just doesn't look very nice. So hopefully you got that one right. When you come to class, we'll be doing a few review problems before you start working. See you tomorrow.